And I remember जब मैं खूबसूरत देखी, I was like, it'll be fun to do something like so. And after all those years comes Royals.
I think, like for me, I think it's any time Shah Rukh Khan falls in love.
Yeah, I know.
I
right?
want to fall in love like that.
But lucky you get to see Aditya Kashyap on the big screen and then at home also.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, we're very lucky and we're very jealous of you.
Yeah. He was a lot of Kashyap in real life also. I was in a relationship that started with a fight. Yeah,
really?
and it was one of those. Yeah, it was totally. It was a high school romance, and it was that first love. Like everything is over when.
Partner does not champion you, and if you don't champion your partner, there's only gonna be toxicity in your life.
In my case, I was raised by a single mother, so all I've known is a woman with agency.
Hello everyone, welcome to News 18. I am Titas Chowdhury in conversation with Ishaan Khatter and Bhumi Pednekar. Hello guys, nice to meet you again. How are you?
Likewise. Hi.
Good.
All good?
All good.
I watched 3 episodes so far. Had a lovely time. I grabbed a tub of popcorn and I sat and I really had a lovely time.
I'm glad. We're thrilled.
Great. So, we were of course talking about love stories. I heard you on-screen love stories, that is. The examples that you came up with, of course, are the OGs. You said Kal Ho Na Ho, you said Jab We Met. But growing up, can you think of one love story that you watched on the big screen and it sort of gave you some kind of dreams, that growing up, I think I would want this for myself.
Weirdly,
Yeah.
when I watched Khoobsurat,
Yeah.
and I remember जब मैं खूबसूरत देखी, I was like, it'll be fun to do something like so. And after all those years comes Royals. I feel like the worlds are similar, but yeah.
You're talking about the Sonam Kapoor.
Yes,
part.
yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes,
Right.
yes. Which I
Love
really
story.
had
It
fun
is.
watching.
It was fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a. Any other love story?
I'm trying to think.
It could be
Yeah,
a Hollywood film
her
too.
Princess Diaries when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, A, make me a princess, and B, may I have a prince?
I know,
like, such a great guy like her who's such a champion for her. मैंने तो बहुत देखी हैं, अभी कोई याद क्यों नहीं आ रही मुझे.
I think, like for me, I think it's any time Shah Rukh Khan falls in love.
Yeah, I know,
I
right?
want to fall
I
in
know.
love like that. And
Shiddat wala.
then Jab We Met, yeah. That
Of
really
course,
did.
yeah, of
Because there was something about the two characters like becoming each other
Yeah.
and then completing each other, which was really beautiful.
Yeah.
So,
But lucky you get to see Aditya Kashyap on the big screen and then at home also.
can you believe it?
Yeah, we're very lucky and we're very jealous of you.
Yeah. He was a lot of Kashyap in real life also. And
sweet.
I mean, I have to say, I think like that was the first time that maybe that was also around the time where I started watching films with maybe slightly more discerning eye.
Sure.
I was always passionate about it, so it started a little earlier for me.
Huh.
But that was maybe the first time that I started seeing like characters in earlier what I would see my brother. So it was very interesting because very different from
Nice.
who he was.
Very true.
Yeah. To me, but also like in general in real life. So
Yeah.
I think that was quite a beautiful experience. to
Very
watch.
interesting.
Yeah.
But like we see in the show, your characters are like poles apart, in so many ways. Do you really think opposites attract?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if we have evidence of it, plus minus. It's I've experienced it in my life actually. Yeah. I was in a relationship that started with a fight. Yeah,
Really?
and it
That's
was
so
one of those.
filmy.
Yeah, it was a high school romance, and it was that first love, like everything is over when
Right.
kind of thing. But it was a sweet 16 romance that started with us like literally like insulting each other. And having a fight in front of the whole classroom and a debate, and then it was like, cute though.
And then Cupid struck.
And then Cupid struck. So
Yeah, I feel like if you can't stand each other, you're still on each other's mind, right? So that says a lot.
That is true.
In a very non-toxic way.
Of course. That's very
So I put
important.
that disclaimer out. Otherwise it can be creepy.
Yeah, hate is a strong emotion, but it's a thin line.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's true. You know, I saw a few comments on YouTube under the trailer that, you know, this look gives Desi Bridgerton vibes, you know, which is great. I mean, we all love Bridgerton.
views.
But, you know, I think even when it comes to Bridgerton, and I have seen your show as well, you know, the interesting thing is that all the women, they have agency. And it's so cool and it's so good to see that. Of course, you know, these things become eventually a part of the pop culture.
Absolutely.
But do you think it's somewhere, of course, pushes that narrative through this pop culture, these pop culture references also, that women need to really retain their identity even when they are in a relationship?
100%. And I think that is one of the most prominent themes for Sophia's arc in the show, that she is constantly battling the fact that if I have like this external energy come into my life that I'm so deeply attracted to, am I going to be unfair towards this beautiful thing that I've built? And I feel like with a lot of modern working women, that's a very big conflict in all of our lives. That's why I felt like such a deep connect with Sophia, because even when I speak to my friends or other women that where their careers are very demanding and that are pressure junkies. I'm a pressure junkie. I can work 24/7, right? And you feel guilty about kind of not being fair to your work. But the thing is that you should be able to find that beautiful balance where you can do both. But that can only happen when you have a partner that respects that. And vice versa.
Very true.
You know, if your partner does not champion you and if you don't champion your partner, there's only going to be toxicity in your life in every way possible, because you're supposed to grow together, right? And if you don't have the ability to do that, you're not right for each other. And I think the show beautifully comments on that, and that's how I was so attracted to it. And you're right, especially for stories that have a chance at becoming a part of pop culture, it's very, very important for all characters to have agency. And Royals does that beautifully. You know, you've seen 3 episodes. Once you're done watching all the 8, you will realize that there are such beautiful micro themes in there. All characters are so complete and nuanced, and they all have a set of value system that they are aligned with, and they are evolving through the show, which is just so beautiful. And it's such a non-judgmental show.
Yes.
It's so refreshing to have like writing that doesn't judge your characters, you know, where women are not judged. Okay, you want to find love at a certain age, please, we are going to champion you through that. You know, you want to find love in a more non-traditional way. I don't want to give a lot out, so I'm just like carefully choosing my words. Okay, you know, you're going to find representation in Royals with all the fun and all the fluff and the beauty and the sexiness and the clothes and the glamour. The core of it is so sensitive and beautiful.
Absolutely. But Ishaan, you know, I want to know from a man's perspective, of course, see, how do men really look at women with an agency? Do you think it could threaten them?
I think we've seen over the years, I think we've seen that it typically does, you know, and
Yeah.
as much as like men like to say that we're comfortable and stuff like that, the second it starts becoming a conversation, you start seeing the, you know,
Very true.
you know,
Which is why I
it's a bit
asked you.
thorny. In my case, I was raised by a single mother. So all I've known is a woman with agency who's like, you know, who I've seen single-handedly balance careers, bring the bread, but also raise her 2 boys. And I think what's beautiful about this show is that it's not about like this sort of pseudo-feministic notion, if I may say so, of like this aggressive need for, you know, women to sort of overpower. It's just is being able to see the two as equals and as flesh and blood human beings beyond the, you know, the exterior. And what I think is really interesting is that Aviraj, also being at a certain stage in his life and having seen the life that he has, finds almost finds comfort in her go-getter attitude. You know, and he
so
finds,
refreshing
like, I
and
think it's so interesting because you know, there's this burden of responsibility that he knows it's like a mountain he knows he needs to climb, that he has ahead of him, and he's it's not like he's shying away from it. After a certain stage, you see he takes it head on. But I think he also finds inspiration in a partner who is able to create a life for herself from scratch, and which is something that he was never. That's not an experience that he was ever allowed to have, even.
Absolutely.
So I think I just think it's really beautiful to have women and men that written as flesh and blood human beings beyond just,
Absolutely, very true. But Ishaan, when I was at the trailer launch of The Royals, somebody very rightly called you a snack. But
that's all okay, but
That's fine.
no, I'm like, okay, so we saw a very different side to you in The Perfect Couple. Of course, you looked really good, and of course, you look really good here as well. It also, I think, to a large extent, shows how you have also embraced yourself. Perhaps your physicality. This is something that we ask women a lot, that because they have self-doubts in their heads as to how they are looking on screen. We don't ask this to men a lot of times. What took you to reach there?
Sorry, last question, yeah.
how I'm looking on screen. I think I think these projects found me at the right time in my life. I think I was ready for it. I think I'm stepping into also being into manhood in a way that allowed me to kind of play these characters and enter them and kind of embody them fully. But beyond that, I think I think it's really lucky of me to be able to play characters that have layers and have possibilities beyond just the surface, and be able to use that to present a different side of these characters and lure you in, perhaps. I think the two characters are pretty different. That one had more of a layer of mystery to it. This one is quite a it's easy to jump to a conclusion with Aviraj, and then that hopefully that changes over the course of the 8 episodes as you realize what he's actually dealing with and who he really is, and his motivations behind his behavior, so to say. But I think if I can tie it up with the previous question, I think that it's really interesting that these characters are sort of that Aviraj specifically is judged for who he is as, say, he's a model, right? He lives by the image of being a prince, and also kind of sells this aura, but really inside he's kind of like a scared child, and it takes somebody who is wildly different from him and opposite from him in every which way to allow him to embrace that side of him and therefore heal.
Absolutely.
So to me what was interesting was to be able to play that in a character where you get to show off your body and sit on a horse and play polo and it's rare that those two things come together.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're the horse boy and the runner girl. I'm ending it. But thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you.
Good luck for this one, Ishaan. Congratulations. Your film is going to go to Cannes.
Thank you.
So, but we'll talk about that later. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.